India has been one of the most attractive destinations for investment for the last several years. Being one of the best emerging markets and one of the most attractive FDI destinations, there have been a lot of investments happening and mainly through the joint venture route. The key factors being the bourgeoising middle class and a consistent GDP growth rate in excess of 7% over the last few years. And also, despite the economic slowdown, India would, without a doubt, maintain a GDP growth rate of 5% or more thereabouts. There are several modes of entry into the Indian market, but from time immemorial, joint venture has been one of the most attractive routes, mainly because of the advantages that it has to offer. Some of the factors being a sharing of the facilities, the infrastructure, the intellectual property, the technology, and so on. From a strategic perspective, any company entering the Indian market has to look at some of the key factors which would make the joint venture successful. Some of them being the scale of investment, the proportion of investment by the two parties, the intellectual property, the pan-India presence of the Indian company, and so on. Well, India has for long been investor friendly, and most of the sectors are under the automatic route without much of sectoral caps. When I say that they are under the automatic route, it means that there are no gamut of government approvals required, and any project in India can have a jump start without having to go through various approvals and bureaucratic snags. Once a company has passed through the strategic part, which means the identification of the right JV partner in terms of common business goals, in terms of shared facilities, in terms of technology protection, and so on. Next phase would be the legal and financial due diligence and the tax diligence which the company has to go through. Legal due diligence generally requires an understanding of the various contracts, the creditors, the loans, etc. Similarly, financial due diligence requires an understanding of the historical financials, the assets and liabilities position, the cash flows, the future projections, etc. Next is the paralegal perspective, wherein, as I've said, the ease of doing business in India has been highly simplified, and all that the companies have to do is to report the investments and allotment of shares in India. There are no plethora of approvals, there are no bureaucratic snags, and once the joint venture agreements are entered into, a company can immediately launch on the project. Another critical component to a joint venture is whether the foreign company would like to have a minority position or a majority position in a joint venture, which means they would have the prerogative to have a majority in the board to be able to navigate the marketing, strategic, and financial decisions. In order to avoid a deadlock situation, it would be advisable to have a minimum of 51-49 JV or more. Further, a foreign company would have the advantage of also getting an equity stake in lieu of the technology. All in all, the legal framework in India is very investor friendly. The way to identify the partners and close a joint venture is that much more easier now. The growing Indian market across all sectors, like to name a few, automotive, healthcare, pharma, IT, and so on, has a lot to offer for a foreign player because of the saturated overseas markets and the double-digit growth in India in most of the sectors. So in a nutshell, the joint venture is one of the best entry routes in order to optimize investments, in order to capture the Indian market in double quick time, have shared risks and responsibilities, take the advantage of the Indian JV partner to understand the Indian way of working, Indian way of doing the business, with not too many impediments and roadblocks. And here I would like to say Aaditya International is well equipped to provide end-to-end support, right from partner identification to doing the valuations and the due diligence of the prospective JV partner, right up to closure of the agreements. Thank you.